So let me get your take in terms of what your thesis was when you bought NVIDIA and how you've seen it evolve and where you see it going. Because I think as the stock continues to climb, it's so tempting to sell your position, yet or trim it at least. Yet I think that your holdings are the highest out of any funds out there right now.
Yeah, among active funds, we are the highest. So we have an 18% weight in Nvidia, and we have this saying: if if you're owning Nvidia, you own it in size, or you don't own it at all. And that, we've taken a view that this is an important holding. It's the AI revolution is here, and it's an interesting story, right? So coming at all growth stocks got completely hammered in 2022. We didn't own Nvidia because semiconductors stocks just tend to have they have the most beta, so they fall the most. And we ended up owning Facebook in size, Google in size on at the bottom. So those worked out incredibly well for us. But there was a time in spring of 2023. We didn't have a position in Nvidia, and it's one of those classic scenarios, and I think a lot of investors are challenged with this, where a stock runs on you, like you look back, you're like, oh, that thing's up like 100%. Well, so was Facebook, and so were other names that you held. Did you really always got to come into an investment saying, like, come in fresh? And ChatGPT, when anyone we did the homework, we actually covered it out in social media. We were talking about it. We're like, this is real and it's revolutionary. And all the work that we did, we said, listen, there if you're looking at it from a point now, we have to own it, and we have to own it in size. And at the, I think our initial position was close to 7% when we put our position in, and then since then the market has obviously taken it higher, and then we pushed it higher with that as well. We've added along the way, but our perspective is that it's an important enough holding that you can't let your past, whether you held it or not, decide where your future is. And I talked to a lot of people like, oh well, we missed it. I'm like, well, we own it at 18%. I'm not, it's not like I've cut my holding and we're celebrating. We still think we're very early in innings, like third or fourth inning, and that may be even too aggressive.
What about the concern, though, that there are other competitors and that, when you have such a great product that they do and high margins, that there's always a view that that's somebody else's lunch to eat, your margins. So where do you stand in terms of analyzing the other companies that are trying to compete on that same type of chip?
Yeah, so AMD is potentially the closest, and we still think they're a very far distance away. And from our perspective, I think our weightings reflect that. So AMD, we have an 8% weighting, NVIDIA 18. I think that's reflective of where the competitive landscape is. We think right now, the demand for compute, the demand for chips is so significant. We've just seen videos of what AI video can do through open AI. This stuff is just mind bending, right? And I think just the amount of training that needs to go into these models, and just the amount of sheer compute that is going to be required over the next 3 to 5 years is going to overwhelm anyone. Just like chips on the market will be sold. So from our perspective, we think 2 years we're clear. We're watching AMD very closely, and we're very open to taking down our position in NVIDIA and adding to AMD, or we're open to watching the market develop. But right now, we see no signs of NVIDIA's moats, and it's not just it's moats being taken down.
And what specifically is it, so we're really clear? What is it that they do so well? Why are they such ahead in this game?
Yeah, so they spent 10 years at getting this right, like getting focused on AI, right? And I think two core things, right? It's obviously you have the processing compute, like that's one key area. Then they have a programming language around it. So you have these two key pillars that nobody else really has in the industry, right? And that's really, when you put it together, it's just you're so far ahead of everyone else. And that, I think, is really what sets apart NVIDIA versus AMD or anyone else trying to come through.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of buyers will try to say, hey, listen, I'll try to buy value name here in Intel. And I think people, without looking closer at this, are going to find out, wait a minute, you just can't buy all chips, and you hope that they'll blindly find their way to a winner.
Right. No, Intel's definitely the more value play that people are talking about, as they believe that competition will in fact increase within this specific AI chip and this AI focus. Obviously, that's not your take. You're sticking with NVIDIA.
Yeah,
and
for our
AMD.
main horse, absolutely, and I think the next one that comes close is definitively going to be AMD, right? And so I think those are the two horses you're watching. One with a definitive lead, one that if you're Microsoft, and I think we haven't even talked about our other big plays, Microsoft. We
Yeah.
have the 13% position in Microsoft.